Alright, cool. So, hi, hello, we're gonna fold some Islamic patterns. We're gonna have some fun, we're gonna do it on a hexagon, it's gonna be great. So first off, alright, what I said was gonna fold a hexagon. So this is not gonna be your typical origami tutorial. We're gonna use origami as a drafting tool. The idea is that the folds will help us construct geometric patterns. That's the basis, that's the idea. Folding it in half, folding it a quarter. You don't need to fold this one completely, just a little space there. Now I fold this in half, return. This is in order so I can get a proper exclusion here, so I can get it to be as spiky as possible. So actually there's an option here. We could either construct to have a special rectangle, or we could construct to have a hexagon. So I'm gonna go for the hexagon just because. But sometimes it's just as well just to have the rectangle. But today we're gonna go for the hexagon. So once that's done, I can just turn the paper over, repeat that process on that other side. Make it as spiky as possible at the corners. And so these two angles are summed, they're added together, and this is the way you get a 60-degree angle, or a third of pi. So when we have them side by side like this, they add up. So now I'm going to take the edge that we have done, I'm going to put it on the edge of the paper itself. So this construction requires us to have prerequisites which are given to us by civilization, by technology. The prerequisite is to have a parallelogram, a rectangle, specifically a rectangle. So the fact that we have this rectangle, these right angles combined, is what allows for this construction to work. My window's open, so you may hear some dogs barking. It's the neighbors, it's a lockdown, it's life as we know it now. It is what it is. But hey, my brother's in the next room doing some business. He's talking loudly. You may hear him as well. I'm not sure. Perhaps not. Perhaps you can't even hear me. But here we are. So what I'm doing now is I'm just... Notice how I am putting the fold now where the wall is. So now I'm just going to repeat that process on the other side. No, wait, that's not there. Rather... Yeah, that's over there. Same, making sure the corners are all spiky and nice. And this is all also just to check. So if these lines line up the way we want them to, we know we're right. We know we're on the right path, and that is what we need. We need harmony. The more harmony we get, the better this is going to look. The more precise it's going to be. So right now, for instance, I'm course correcting. Making sure that it lines up. And then finally, we can just take this one down. As you can see, I did it overlapping. But I could also unfold this and just fold this down as I did before. It's really the same. And we're gonna cut this away anyway, so. Yeah. So this is like the natural way to get a hexagon. There's many lessons in this, and right now I'm not gonna go into it, but I will actually have to get into it in another video. It's very interesting how you can do actual math with folding and with shapes, and understanding that math, and sort of like deepening our understanding of it, of our way we work with it. It just makes us sort of better at finding new ways of using it. And well, the advantage of folding is that you don't need no tools. You just need your hands thank God for them, and a piece of paper, which is, you know, very commonly found. You can even make some at home. There's plenty of videos on that if you're so inclined. And there are many people who do actually have a homemade paper sort of little factory going, and you can buy it off of them. Some of the more famous origami paper is made in little artisan shops. So as you can see, cutting this away, this is just regular print paper. So what I do is I rip and then I go slide. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but I did also fold these both ways. Yeah. So just to show you a little bit of what we're going to work with. So this is the additional, and then we take this off and we take these off. This is what we're going to work with. So our pattern has a center that is 12-fold and corners, which are 12-fold. So first off, we need to make that true. So we have all these mountains, and there are many ways to do this, and the way I'm going to do it is the typical way. We're gonna go for a traditional way. What is this called? I can't remember right now, but this is the preliminary fold. All polygons have preliminary folds. That means that we find the center of the polygon usually, and then using the combination of the apothems and the radii. So these lines are the apothems. Apothem is a line that goes from the mid edge, this is the edge, mid, to the center. This is the vertex or the corner, and that goes to the center, that's the radius. Radius, apothem. Archimedes found that the closer, the more sides you have, the more the apothem and the radii approximate equal value. And at infinity, they actually are the same. And so what he did was he found the formula for the ratios between the apothem and the radius, and then he pretty much stopped at I can't remember how many sides he did. I think it was 124 sides, something like that, I think. And with that, he approximated pi. That was the gist of it. But he wasn't the only mathematician to approximate pi. The Chinese were also into it. The Indians were also into it. I can't remember his name, but I think it sounds something like Gupta something. He also did it. There's also a Chinese mathematician. I want to remember his name, but I don't. So there's two ways to do the preliminary fold, if you recall, in the square. We have the kite version, and we have the triangle version, right? So these two are interchangeable. It's the same folds. It's just a matter of choosing which side is touching. So you can be either, these are touching at the center. Notice the vertex are touching at the center, or the midpoints are touching at the center. We're going to go for the vertices touching at the center. We want to go for the kite, and now there's 6 of these flaps. So it's 1, 2, 3, one hand, 1, 2, 3 on the other hand. And I did it this way because it's easier to bisect. And so I go in here like this. I take it down like so. And the other way, like that. 1, 2. And this goes down like this. So all of these are going to be bisected. It's also interesting to note that by dividing, we're actually multiplying. We divide in half, but we get as double the amount of flaps we had. So we had 1 flap, and now we have 2 flaps. So where there was 1 and now there's 2. We have multiplied, and we have multiplied by dividing. So nice little analogy of opposites, you could say. All of them. So I'm recording this from the YouTube app because I have the theory that maybe the camera on the YouTube app will use less data on my phone, because my phone camera just has this thing where like a 6-minute video will be 2 gigs, which is insane, and I can't change that. And I've tried downloading other cameras. I even bought one. I was thoroughly disappointed that it didn't take as much advantage of the cool camera that I know this phone has, but whatever. For now, I'm relying on YouTube. I'm counting on you guys. We have split the center into 12s. This is what's happening. So when you split a center into 12s, when you split anything into something, in the origami world, you get double of what you bargained for. So we wanted 12, but we had actually 24 slices. But we don't count these. We count only what's between 2 similar folds. So this is a mountain and this is a mountain, and we only count how many mountains there are, or spaces between mountains. These are slices, so it's 1 slice, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But, you know, if we wanted to split hairs, we could actually go to 24, the double of that. So just as we did this here, we need to precise where else these are gonna go. I will suggest, for the purpose of this one, just so we get the most out of our pattern, we're gonna put them on the midpoint. So our centers are going to be located on this middle edge, which means that these lines are going to have to get folded. So we're going to start by doing these, just to see what we're working with. Let's pretend that we don't know anything and we just know certain things about the pattern, right? We have this line. We can do the same on the other one. And so, as we said, we count how many spaces between. So it's 1, 2, 3. But there's going to be a line between. It's going to be 1, 2, and 3. If we divide these, it's going to be 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's only going to be half a circle. So this 6ness is the one we're looking for. So we need another division there. And well, as you can see, that makes an equilateral triangle divided in half, so we need another division. So that's also why I had it folded in the same line, because we want to respect the states. So if this is a valley, we're going to respect that valley even on this one. So that means that the one right between this, the split is the same as this split. I want to cross. I sometimes get lost, I'm sorry, but sometimes, you know, it's just so beautiful. So what we do now is we take a mountain and we put that on this other mountain that we have here. This is a way of bisecting. We're going for the more complicated version, you guys. I'm sorry. I am sorry. It is simpler just to put the vertices at the corners instead of at the midpoints, but if you want to tessellate it, this one is much more exciting. It gives a lot more space to the pattern. Yeah, it's a lot more something. So you see how this is more colorful now? So this we did here, we're gonna do here. So we respect that this line is a mountain, and right between, put a valley. And yes, you'll see that it won't hit, you know, this is why it's sometimes so hard, or like that much harder, because your mind will sort of disagree with some of the things that we do, because they don't match up perfectly, but they do, you just don't see it. So this little itty bit that's left off, you know, it might not look like something, but it's something. You just don't know. And you know, we can take advantage of this in an origami way, but right now we're just focusing on folding these patterns, and so we get Islamic patterns. It's all we're caring about right now. We're not caring about the origami aspect of it, although that is quite intriguing. So these 2 points are going to be our center, and right between is going to be the flex. So right here is going to be a flex, which means that it's not, you know, it's not entirely far-fetched to go like this. So this point is going to be a flex. We could actually anticipate this and fold it right here and save us a lot of work. Just do that. That would save a lot of work, wouldn't it? It would, because then we already had it all. If we get this fold in, we got it all. So just as this line, we can keep that folded. Let's make sure that it's actually on that line. Let's see, I'm gonna experiment here. I just saw this solution, so now I'm curious. We see that this one lines up, so if we unfolded this, we just need to get this line in there. What is this line though? It's one of the divisions, which turns out to be one of the halves. But it turns out that we fold that in half. That's going to be the pattern, or part of it. So now we have a clue. So this line that we did right here, we can just write this all the way home. So we're going to take all the edges like this one, and we're going to fold them as mountains, so we can respect the states, and then we're going to fold that onto the midline there, the center. So we can just repeat this over and over again, because we already know that's going to be a solution. So we're doing this as if though we didn't know anything. That's the idea. That it somehow comes forth by itself, and that the solution is, although mechanical to a certain degree, because there's a lot of repetition, but it also is something that kind of breathes on its own. That's the driving force of whatever it is we're doing. And well, this pattern in particular is sort of simple. It uses things in a very creative way. It's one of those things. It's just a very beautiful instance of a solution. It's almost circles in contact kind of technique. I don't know if that's a coined phrase, but I know that it works. To have circles touching. It's sort of like almost a polygon in contact technique, but a little different. So now what I'm doing is I'm just completing the star. So right now I'm just gonna finish folding these down, just going for the halves there. You know, we may end up saving a lot of effort if we do the proper bounces, but those bounces really depend on whether it's easy or not just to do what we got. So just our pattern so far, just going to use this pen to draw in the pattern that I know we're going to do. So this one goes from here, and this is going to hit here. Now the reasoning is we need a 6-2 star. The 6-2 star is made up, it's pretty much a hexagon, but it has 6 vertices, and every 2 vertices there's a line. And so it goes one way, and goes the other. And so as you can see, we're just marking X's. There's an X, and now we got to keep on marking these X's. But right now I'm just going to focus on one of them, just for the purposes of this video. I'm just going to focus on this quadrant right here for now. We're going to go further. So the pattern requires us to have another one like these, but sprouting towards this hexagon. So yeah, okay, maybe that, it's not that much effort. Let's just do it. So as you can see, I'm using the paper as a ruler. So this is also why it's handy to have folds, or the folds that you want to do as valleys, because you can just lift the paper up and use that as a reference. Mind you, it's not, you know, it depends on you, but it's not as precise as, say, a ruler, an actual ruler, because you might miss some of the points, but you can also, you know, get ahead, put a point, and then when you lift it, you can see the points and just go from point to point. Pretty classical stuff. And I don't know if they did this back in the day. I don't know if this is something they do, but, you know, Euclideanly, this is quite the proving machine. You can use paper folding to pretty much work with all the Euclidean type stuff, and, you know, sometimes the spherical stuff too, which is also neat. It's nice, and hopefully we'll get into that pretty soon, but one step at a time. Okay, we marked the first step of the pattern. Now the rest of the pattern needs the same star, the same system, the same grid, but it just needs to be rotated a sixth of a turn. So that means that from here it needs to be the same fold needs to bounce. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to change this fold of state. So this right now is a valley. I'm going to change it into a mountain. But why? Well, because I'm seeing I want to bounce it off of here, this line where I want it to go off of. But I need, in order to perform a bounce, I need for my folds to be opposites. So I'm going to fold this into a mountain. And so just minding this. This is my mirror line. So first I fold the line I want to bounce. This is my mirror line. I activate it. And this one will pretty much just go fully towards the center here, like this. You see that? It lands, it goes through the center of the paper, and then I can just extend. And see what that does is exactly that same angle at this point bouncing. I can now return this. I can extend this line, so this line needs to be extended, but first I'm going to fold it all the way. Also, to make sure that it's, you know, properly done, this line needs to continue. You see how this will guarantee perpendicularity. Also with this one, also with this one. So all these lines that are part of the grid need to line up. So there's several relationships that we're sort of, so you'll see that there's an intersection there as well that we're taking advantage of. I'm going to fold this back so it's a valley so I can draw on it. And now here I can see that this is also a bouncing point. There are many bouncing points, but this is one that I know it's going to be there. So this is my line, bop, bop. You see this line wasn't there before. Descend, making sure that all the lines of my grid line up. So this one continues, all of them line up. And so now I wanted to go full circle. So now this is my mirror line. So I fold the line I want to bounce, fold the mirror line, bring it back up. Fold down like that. So now this is complete. I now need to do exactly this all over. So now the question would be, how do I make it so it's more economical? There are many ways to do it. Well, it depends. If we wanted to actually like make the pattern the best it can be, then it's better to get all these centers to be folded in the certain way that we needed them to be. Or we can just take advantage of the things as they are. So if we have this and it's going to be repeating here, we can just, that was kind of interesting. That actually is one of the reasons why I recommend having folds on all of the centers, because then you can actually bring the pattern to life. See how that comes up? And there's also going to be another one here, actually, you see? So that may come in handy. So for instance, this same thing is going to be existing over here, so we can use this one as the bounce. Use this, turn over, we have this middle line that we wanted to use. No, that's not it. It's this one, the next one. Let me know in the comments if this is too confusing. Let me know your thoughts. Oh, that's a nice coincidence. See that? With that point right there, boom, right there, that can help us. That can really help us, because now I just have to line that. So it's just like there, and then when that touches and this lines up, that's my line. So I can just, by doing that, save a lot of time, and then eventually, you see this? I'll get to this point. So I can copy this too. So there are many ways to copy the lines, the folds. So for instance, I can fold that, and then I can fold the opposite one as well. Save time. Because the purpose is just draw the pattern in. It's not, make it all come alive. It's nice when it comes alive, but right now, priorities, right? This one here, I'm gonna do it a bounce. But I think it is worth it to fold the 12 fold on all of the corners here. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I think that step could actually be avoided. So that's something to look out for, actually. That is quite interesting to think that it could actually be avoided altogether. I'll have to look into it. This one, I'm using these points on the triangles. That's done, that's done. This one, yeah, I'm going to be using the points on the triangles as well. This is a little itty bit there at the corners too. You're going to see why that's important, but right now let's just skip it. Missing this, I can use that just to copy it, but let's try to find, let's see. I'm going to fold this one that I already have and see which relationships I can come up with. See, there it is. It also hits on the top of the triangle there. You see? So these points at the top, so it means that, boop, and right there, boop, and boop there. This itty bit where these two fall, this one rises. Let's see, we're missing this one. Same itty bit there. And this. And here this. I'm going to use another color for the other sequence, because there's like almost two patterns here that are happening. So this one goes from here. This is another hexagram, so it goes from here and it touches here. It goes up, and there it stops. So I'm just going to keep this one, goes actually all the way. Then bounce it off of this guy. This one stops here. No, it doesn't. No, it stops here and stops here. So we need to find the crosses. You see the cross? This one is almost like a triple cross. It goes from here to here. It's not the best blue pen, but I was gonna upload this pattern as an Instagram live, but the quality wasn't the best and I couldn't save it. You know, I saved it after the stream, but somehow it just didn't register. Because maybe I was making too sure that I actually saved it. I was clicking video, save, like save it. And so I think that sort of like maniacal demanding kind of fried it a little bit. Yeah, what's cool about this is like there's no tools involved, there's no nothing involved, it's just space and your conversation with it. Which is not to knock on tools, you know. Like I love compass and straight edge construction because it's so much cleaner, right? Because look at this mess. But you know, you can use. This is why we need a little bit. See, what this means though is that there is one step that I think was overdone, but it gave us clues, so now it's trying to use those clues and try to optimize it. So I think that may be some advice to myself, really. But part of the fun and like the unique thing about these sort of builds is to have them brought to life by the folds. So that is why sometimes it's good to have extra folds in here, just because it makes you able to just pop it out that much more. And also for you to see how much it relates to itself, how much there is this like special inward relationship. I don't know how to explain that, but it's real. It is very tempting to keep on going, because there is something that we can do next, which is within the structure of like drawing the pattern in, and that's to find the weave, because there is a weave in all these like Islamic patterns, which is a lot of the fun, really. And this one has the weave at the center of these triangles, so it's almost as if the weave, I don't know how to explain it right now. I need to see it to be able to replicate a little bit. But I've done it before and it's very beautiful. But see, for instance here, that I do have my divisions, I can start sort of like using them. And it requires a little bit of maneuvering because these needs to change apparently. And that, yeah, they need to be, or I can change the fold itself and respect what is. Because this is a valley and this is a mountain, so that means that If they're all mountains on this side, they should line up for more. Apparently there needs to be all of them. If I don't have all of them set up, it doesn't work, which is also part of the tedium, if I may say so, of the folds, that if you want to do something, you gotta go all the way. If you half-ass it, it's not as cool. But like the ratio of half-assing it to not half-assing it in origami is insane. Like if you half-ass it, it's just terrible. Or not as, it can be terrible. But when you do it right, when you do it like fully, you get a lot of reward out of it. So yeah, there's that. So I'm using my hands on both sides of the paper just to get it to pop. So just because I'm weaving this, and so therefore sometimes it requires the line to just to go all the way. And that's also why it's helpful to have the rest of the paper folded, because then you can sort of bounce and you don't need to go all the way. So it saves up on time sometimes. So you put times one way, you put time one where, and that helps you save time elsewhere. So because there's a kind of pattern that we're doing where it has these sort of like 12 stars, it's nice to be able to actually bring them, like see them. So we need to actually divide all of them, but because we wanted to save time, because we just wanted to do the pattern, we didn't do them on all of them. But like I was saying, if you want to get the most out of it, you can't half-ass it. But right now this video just concerns the construction of this pattern, and we did it. And so we're going to do more. Hope you enjoyed it. This thing got way off. I had a little paper here so I wouldn't get out of frame, but I think I got way out of frame there. Oh well. Yeah. Well, thank you. Hope you liked it. Stay tuned for more, and yeah, keep on keeping on.